Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, Chiefs Kingdom. I hope you guys are ready for this upcoming weekend playoff matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And no disrespect to Jacksonville because they're close, right? They're close. But I don't think they're quite at that level of the Kansas City Chiefs. I was reading an article earlier today that sparked this video idea, and it was going through weaknesses for every team. The Chiefs' one was turnovers, and I can understand it. I truthfully can. The good news is, I watched that Raiders game, and what did they have? Well, they had 0 turnovers. So that makes me feel really good, but more importantly, they're getting healthy. Sky Moore is a full participant in practice. L'Jarius Sneed is a full participant in practice. Frank Clark he's limited in practice, but he's a vet. Give him the benefit of the doubt for sure. He's going to be good to go. That bye week certainly helps. But Cole Hardman was the only player who did not practice today on Tuesday. So it was a very short injury report, which is one of the benefits of the bye week. And with the number 1 ranked offense, I want to dissect this Jacksonville game. All right, and I'm not saying technically there is a shot Jacksonville wins, and you don't want to discredit an opponent. You definitely don't want to underestimate them, right? Because Jacksonville, they're coming off a crazy come-from-behind victory against the Los Angeles Chargers. But let's be real here. I was never sold on the Chargers. I was never sold on that team or the coach. But if Kansas City can, because you're going to be playing Buffalo or Cincinnati, and those are 2 of the 3 top dogs in the AFC outside of Kansas City, who's definitely right now are just, they're the 1 seed, right? It's hard to argue that they're the best team in the AFC. If Kansas City plays a clean game, which is the hope, obviously, that has me feeling even better. We'll talk about all this in today's video. Before we get into it, Chiefs Kingdom, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, let's try and get this video to 200 likes. That would be absolutely awesome. I post daily NFL content, Chiefs videos a couple of times a week. Gonna be covering them through the playoffs and through the offseason, so stay tuned. I cannot wait to see what you guys have to say heading into this week. Haven't made a Chiefs video in like a week because of that bye week. I was just enjoying wild card weekend. It truly was a wild card weekend. That Jacksonville win, man, I'm kind of excited. I like Trevor Lawrence, I'll admit it. I'm a big Trevor Lawrence fan, and I'm excited for Jacksonville. As a Florida resident, I'm excited to see what they're cooking. I like what Doug's done, I like what Trevor is doing, and they're a promising team. In fact, since week 11, there's a very real argument that Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence are the best 2 quarterbacks in that time. Since week 11, Trevor Lawrence is 7-1 with a 66% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes is 7-1 with a 67% completion percent and 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So both of these cats since week 11 are 7-1. I actually, Cincinnati, they have not lost in a long time. Buffalo, honestly, same thing applies. They're a very talented team. But Jacksonville and Kansas City, they're running and they're gunning. And this is going to be a great matchup, man. I absolutely cannot wait. But honestly, I think, my thought from a couple of weeks ago still stands. I think it's going to come down to the defense. At the end of the day, I think the defense is going to win them a championship. If they're going to get to the Super Bowl, it's going to come down to that D. And Justin Reid has been saying a lot of stuff recently. He's really been just kind of preaching on this defense. Steve's defensive coordination. But he says that the rising defensive confidence has led to more turnovers. We know that this team can get sacks. And recently, in the last month or so especially, they've been getting the stops. Whether that's third down, we know that's Coach Steve's specialty. But really, it comes down to just allowing field goals rather than touchdowns if you're going to give up those big plays, if that secondary is going to give up those big plays. I've talked about it time and time again. Justin Reid has come out and said, you guys aren't rookies anymore. Right? We're in the playoffs. It's time to step up. You've had a whole season to prep. You've had a whole season to get those reps. It's time to step up, make the plays, and get the stops. So defensively, that's, to me, it's not turnovers. That's the question mark right now with Kansas City. I know that they are prone to turning the ball over, right? They're 19th in the league in giveaways and have a turnover differential of -3, which is the worst among the teams still alive in the playoffs. So yes, turnovers is going to be a big factor, but honestly, with Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 interceptions against the Chargers, I'm not too worried about it, right? And once again, I'm not trying to discredit this Jacksonville team, but at the same time, I feel so confident that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and the whole Chiefs team is making the adjustments and they spend this bye week properly. Here's a quote from Andy Reid. "The trick is balance. Then how the players utilize their free time, and coaches for that matter. We've got to make sure that we keep on top of the scheme stuff too. We'll see how all that works out. But yeah, I'll tell you that's the trick to it, is to keep the balance to where the players stay sharp and the coaches still can add a couple of things into the guys' mix and go from there." So I love it. Continuing to make adjustments, continuing to make improvements. Just because you're the number one team, just because you have that bye week, doesn't mean it's time to ease the foot off the gas. I know we all wanted to see, the last month or so of the season, the Kansas City Chiefs just steamrolling opponents. I mean, at the end of the day, they got the wins. And, we all know once playoff time hits, the wins are all that matters. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be sexy, and it doesn't have to be perfect. A win is a win once you get into the playoffs. And with Patrick Mahomes' track record in the playoffs, Mr. MVP, I'm feeling pretty confident. I really genuinely think coaches go a long way once we get to this point. I think that's where the difference is. And Doug Peterson has done, once again, a phenomenal job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team was 4-8. Not too long ago, a couple of months ago, they were sitting at 4-8. They got some really impressive victories 2 times against the Tennessee Titans, a divisional rival. I know Tennessee is kind of more so going downhill, especially with the Tannehill injury, but that Dallas win in overtime, the pick 6, that was huge. This is a good Jacksonville Jaguars team, right? And maybe if it wasn't the Kansas City Chiefs, I'd be a little bit, not nervous or hesitant, but I'd be a little bit on my toes, right? I'd be a little bit like, all right, let's see what they got. But man, I feel so confident with the previous track record of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, specifically those two. Obviously, this offense is number 1 in the NFL for a good reason, and the defense has been trending in the right direction. I don't care what the statistics say. I'm using the eye test, and the defense is getting stops when they need to. And speaking of turnovers, once again, against the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that went into overtime against one of the hottest teams in the National Football League in the San Francisco 49ers just the week prior, I'm really glad with the way the Kansas City Chiefs ended their regular season. So let me know what you guys are thinking heading into this upcoming Saturday. We're still a couple of days away, so stay tuned for more Chiefs videos. As always, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL and Chiefs content, and I will catch you guys later.